Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, Blogging 101 for Small Medium Business Success. My name is Doug Hay. I'm the president of KIAI, and I'm pleased to be your presenter today. I've been doing the marketing game for some 30 years and specializing in internet marketing for about the last 15. Services our firm offers covers everything from branding, design, and all the digital marketing services from websites, search optimization, and so on. Our presentation today, we're going to do it all the way through. Anytime you have a question, just enter it in the question box, and at the end of the presentation, I'm going to answer all the questions at once. And if you'd like a copy of today's slides, just drop us an email, and we'll be glad to send them to you. And if you would like a free marketing analysis, we'd be glad to do that for you. Contact information is there. All right, so today we're going to be talking about blogging. So what is a blog? So we should do some definitions here. So blog is now almost part of the vocabulary, and it's basically slang for a weblog. Kind of came from a ship's captain's log. Anyway, so blogging, that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's where you're updating your blog. A post is an article. It's the content. Also, also just abbreviate and just call it a post. A blogger, that would be you, someone who writes the blogs, updates the blog, keeps track of comments and so on. And the blogosphere is all those blogs are out there, and there are lots of them, millions and millions and millions of them. So if you want to stand out and you want to be noticed, you want to generate some business from it, you're going to have to do actions that will get your blog noticed. So when you have a website, you definitely want to include a blog in your main navigation. So if you have a blog, don't hide it somewhere. It's really a key part of your marketing. So the earlier slide is the main navigation. You can see it there again. And then when I click on the blog, I get this summary page, which I like to use big images. And this is the headline. And the right-hand column has the calls to action, sign up for the newsletter, call for an appointment, whatever it is for you. All right. Blogging strategy. Okay, so one of the key pieces of advice I can give you is think like a publisher. So in your new marketing model, think of it like that. The content is really, really important, and it's better than the old days. And a blog is one of those key parts of that marketing strategy. Engagement. What you're really after when people visit your website is they engage with you. They don't just come, take a quick look, and leave. They're interested in the content. They subscribe to your blog. They subscribe to your newsletter. They're interested. They get involved with you. So in the old days, a brand is just simply a name of a business, which can be a one-person shop or a Fortune 500 company. What we're after is this interaction with the intended users and your business, your practice, your small business, medium business, whatever you have. Content marketing. So this is really a key concept. This comes from the Content Marketing Institute. And this is a great quote. Content marketing is a marketing technique of creating. You got to do it. You got to write it. You got to create it or hire somebody to do it. And distributing relevant and valuable content. So not junk just to fill up the page. To attract, acquire, and engage a clearly defined and understood target audience with the objective of driving profitable customer action, i.e., you develop a lead, you develop a prospect, which leads to sales. So that's what we're after. It isn't just writing for the purpose of writing. Our goal here is we want to get more business. And this is kind of like the flow of how it works in content marketing. So a great place to start is with your blogs, because blogs provide fresh content. The fresh content appears on your website, good for Google. And also you can use the blogs, you can summarize them in a newsletter. So now you've got content going out by email, which you control. You can also use it in social media. And from that, you develop readers. Those readers end up becoming leads. The leads become prospects, and you end up with sales. So that's kind of like a sales funnel, so to speak, using content marketing as your main tool. So in the old days, we just basically didn't have all the options we have now. So we would do postal mailings. Everybody, no matter who they are, what size they are, everybody gets the same message. If somebody is a real estate agent, they mail to everybody that's on the block or in that street or whatever. And some people are renting and they're not interested in buying, et cetera, et cetera. So very ineffective, and it's also now more and more expensive. Postage rates goes up. You got to print it. You got to get mailing lists. All these costs with a very low return. Very low return. Now, look at the model we're talking about today. This new marketing model, whereby we are creating content that will get people talking about what's going on, talking about your service. For example, you're a veterinarian, and content is created about how to care for your puppy, how to care for your kitten, all this kind of thing. People will start to pass it around. It's good things for people to comment on in social media. When you get a newsletter, 5 tips to care for your new kitten. That's useful content that people will use. They'll engage with it. They'll pass it around. So this is kind of like a mind shift in terms of how you go about looking at marketing. Obviously, you got to end up selling something, but if you do it right, the selling isn't some painful process. So in this study that was done, they basically are talking about, it's not so much about selling as it is about engaging. And this is why content marketing works so well, and more people are using it, is you get better results, and it's also cheaper. So this another survey that was done. Online services most likely to influence a purchase. So websites number 1, number 2 as well, and blogs is number 3. Head of social media. So you can definitely utilize blogs, and the end result, you can end up generating more business. So an overall strategy for your business can be something like this. The focal point is your website. It's kind of the anchor for all these other things. And we have email and your brand and your logos and your designs and so on. You got social media. You can get referrals, and you've got your blogs and other content that you can create. So content. So benefits of blogging: you get connected with people on your people that follow you, people that are on your mailing list, your email. Search engines love the fresh content. It'll help you generate leads. You can use the blogs in your social media. What are you going to post to Facebook? Well, if you've got some great blogs, then you post a summary on Facebook or whatever other social media platforms you're using, and so you get many kicks at the can here with regard to creating this great content. All right, I have a voice. I love this slide. Basically, in quote the old days, the consumer really couldn't do anything. They had no involvement in anything we were doing. You know, we would send them stuff, postal mail, advertising, billboards, you name it, and they just received it and they kept it or they did whatever. Now you send direct mail, most people just throw it in the garbage. So what they're really interested in is where they can have a voice, where they can participate. And the blog is the perfect platform for that because the blog has comments. You create good content, people comment on it, they're now involved with you. And so this is really good because this technology has now allowed us to be more involved with our target audience. All right, I'm going to show you some examples here of blogging success. This is a company called Social Media Examiner. It's actually a good one for you to subscribe to. Their newsletter is free. And they started, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I've been following them. And they're not up to now, their mailing list is 580,000. And I think it was like one guy or two guys that started this. And the whole thing was just about quality content about social media. Now, they happened to hit the wave when social media was really just getting started. And so they've become a really important source of good quality information about social media. Hence, why they've got so many followers. Now they have so many followers, they can offer other things that, you know, paid workshops or paid whatever, and they've got this huge mailing list. This is another one I love. Her name is Anna White, and this is her website. And you notice on her website she's got advertising, you know, QuickBooks, Amazon, and along the top there, Equifax. So who is Anna White and what does she do? Okay. Anna White is a housewife in Alaska and she builds furniture. And she's got a huge following. And this is a quote from an interview that was done. She didn't even know what a blog was when she started. She just like wanted to help other people. And off she goes. She created this great content and she made, you know, building furniture, you know, confrontable. People could do it. Now, this is a study or an interview that was done actually in Social Media Examiner, one I just showed you. This is back in 2012, and look at these stats. She had Facebook, 50,000 fans back then. I don't know what it is now. And she was getting 3 million visitors to her website. And by the second year, this blog was bringing in enough advertising, those ads I showed you, to support her family. And then she gets, you know, she's almost a celebrity, so now she's appearing on HGTV. So this is some great advice that she gave. She says, I put 90% of my time into creating content and 10% to other stuff like answering emails and so on. Try to create content that is so valuable it shares itself, and then you can focus on doing what you love. Fantastic advice, you know, from someone started with nothing and grew it to, you know, a small business that is supporting her family. All the while, she's doing something that she really loves to do. All right, homework. So here's the steps to set up a blog. A blog is part of a website, or it can be a standalone website. So you need to have a programmer, obviously, to do that. You know, you want to spend a bit of time on some homework, and then you got to do writing, there's some linking strategies, developing relationships with other bloggers or other places that can promote your blog. And then we're looking for links back to your website. So now I'm going to go through each of these points in detail. So what are your goals? Who's your target audience? You need to sort of sit back for a moment and think about that. So you can sometimes get into doing something that applies to everybody. And if you're a small business, medium-sized business, you really can't afford to do that. You're not going to end up with very specific results. I have a friend who's a management consultant. He was a veterinarian. So all he does is do consulting to veterinarians, very narrowly focused target audience, which makes your marketing so much easier. If you wanted to buy an email list, for example, you could buy an email list of veterinarians. If you're trying to get an email list of small businesses, in America, there's like 20 million of them. Which ones you're going to pick? Obviously you can't afford to have a mailing list of 20 million people. So pick your audience. Then you need to have a system. The one I always recommend is WordPress. Our site is built on it. All our clients' sites are built on it. It's the only platform I've used for 10 years. And it has all kinds of features, and it's constantly, more new designs, updated designs. There's another service WordPress offers where you don't have to build your own website. You just basically become part of WordPress. I don't recommend that because it's not yours. And the minute you stop doing it, you just kind of disappear. And it doesn't give you individual search visibility, which kind of defeats the purpose. But if you wanted to start and just get an idea of how this works, you could do that. Okay, so your steps, you got to find a web address. I've found that is almost the hardest thing to do in building a website and a blog. What is the name of the business? All the good names are pretty well taken, so you have to kind of get creative. Then your website blog has to be hosted. Companies like GoDaddy or Media Temple is the one I recommend. Then you got two choices. You can either do custom programming, not recommended unless you have a pretty significant budget, probably starting around $10,000 to do a custom site. Or you can purchase a theme. That's mostly what we do, and then we do some customization to it. And that then becomes affordable. And then, of course, you've got to have content. You've got to have text. You've got to have images. You may want to have video. All that needs to be, designed and uploaded to your site. You also, when you are starting off, your website blog needs to be what's called responsive. And responsive is kind of this magic programming technology whereby your website and or your blog automatically reformat based on the tool that somebody's using to watch. So if you're on a computer, it's a certain size. If you're on a tablet, it automatically resizes. If you're on a smartphone, then it resizes again. And more people are doing everything on a smartphone. So you really absolutely need to have this. All right, keywords. So keywords are not just one word, they're phrases, and this is what we use to find things. We're using keywords all day long on the internet. And you can find, websites, you can find blogs, you can find photographs, whatever. But these words are what is the key, and this is how all the searches and search indexing all works. So the search engines basically rely on what you put on your blog, what you put on your web page, that they index, and then when people are searching for what you're offering, you may or may not show up depending on some other circumstances, which we will talk about. Okay, so here's our steps. And this is for what we call SEO, search engine optimization. In simple language, what that means is I want to show up on page 1 for my keywords, and that's my goal. Of course, everybody else in the same business as you has the same objective. So unless you're clever, it's never going to happen. So the steps we go through with clients is first we do a very detailed keyword research. Then based on that research, we will write the pages, or somebody else has written them, and we simply embed the keywords where they need to be. And then you're adding this fresh content to your site. A free tool to do keyword research is Google AdWords. AdWords is the advertising side of search results. So you can also, test keywords by doing some advertising. And the way it works is every time somebody clicks on one of your ads, you pay Google, which can be anywhere from 5 cents to, $5. Okay, I'm going to talk about what's called long-tail keyword research. This is really important. And this chart looks like a tail, and that's really what the long tail came from. So when you have very broad terms like men's shoes, you have huge number of searches. However, the competition is very difficult. And as you get more and more specific, men's running shoes, less searches, but less competition as well. Then you get down to the example here, we're talking about shoes, best men's shoes for running marathons, very narrowly focused. This is a long tail phrase. So a smaller number of people are searching for that, but if somebody's searching for best men's shoes for running marathons, they are definitely in the market to buy something. So here's a search I did for car. Now, if you're looking for a car, it's not going to be very helpful if you just type in car. In this example, there's over 4 billion searches, so not very useful. Now, if I said used cars for sale, now what happened is Google automatically figured out where I am. So now I get what's called local search. Ads at the top as usual. Then I get 3 listings. Used to be 10, now they're down to 3. Then you have to click on this button to get more places. And Google is really focusing on this local search because think about it. If you're in Miami and you're looking for a used car, search results in New York are completely useless to you. So this Google AdWords tool, you just type in Google Keyword Planner, and the tool will show up. You have to enroll, but it's free. Okay, so here's an example of keyword research. So this would be something like we would do. Our services, search optimization, SEO management, and so on and so on. And so what we get is, this will be common in all the searches you do, you get the monthly searches. So, and then you get what's competition. So every time there is a search result, I'll just go back to this, is in this example here, used cars for sale, there's 51,300,000 competing pages. So competition tells you certain information. And then another column I like to add is called CPC, cost per click. So if I was going to run ads on Google, this is an approximate cost per click. So each time somebody clicks on my ad, then I get charged. So what we're looking for is high search volume, low competition, and high cost per click. So for example, this one here, 670 is the highest. Now you got to decide, and this is where judgment comes in, and computer programs aren't necessarily going to help you very much because you've got to be thinking about certain things. So we need to know what the intent of that keyword is. So in this an example here, used cars for sale in Miami, that's good. Colors of the rainbow, pretty useless. Somebody searching for the colors of the rainbow doesn't have an intent to buy something unless you're selling, painting sets and painting rainbows. All right, so back to our chart here. So I've highlighted a couple possible keywords. So this, in this example, we're talking about a company that offers SEO services. So two keywords here, search engine optimization service and SEO specialist. Both represent what the business is. If I picked SEO optimization, has higher searches, and also with much higher competition, the cost per click is a little lower, but the problem is the intent. If somebody's searching using that keyword, SEO optimization, they may not be looking for somebody to hire. They may only be looking for how to figure it out themselves. So these two I've highlighted potentially could be keywords that you would use on a web page, and of course you can use them in your blogs. This is an important concept now, and semantics are now at the core of everything done on Google with regard to search. So what does that mean? So semantics basically is difference or similarities in the meanings of words, phrases, and so on. So Google now is so sophisticated. They are, apparently they have over 200 people, and all they do is work on the formulas called an algorithm that Google uses to deliver search results. Because the way Google makes money, kind of ironic, it's similar to the newspapers 100 years ago. Provide good content and sell ads. So what Google does, their good content is the search results, and on that same page are ads. So the essence of it is you can have your keywords, but you can also incorporate a bunch of other similar keywords. All right, so when you're writing, here's some things you need to take into account. Who is your target audience? It doesn't work, if you are, go back to the veterinarian example, if your target audience is for small pets, dogs and cats, talking about, what a rancher would do with a herd of cattle is completely useless. So even though a veterinarian does both. So you want to figure out your audience. And as a small business, we can't try to service everybody. And most small businesses have a pretty good idea who their target audience is. Love this little poster here. If you talk to people the way advertising talk to people, they'd punch you in the face. So in the old days, advertising, yeah, we're the best, we're the greatest, call us now, blah, blah, blah. It's not as useful anymore, and almost everybody has a mute on their TV channel. So it is not the tool to be using now. And if you've noticed the size of newspapers, or even newspapers are disappearing, it's because of this. their content is old, and the ads are just ads. They're not interested in that. Or if you go on the internet, you can get the news faster, and you can be much more engaged. So writing for the end user. So first of all, you got to know what your product or service is, and if you're assigned the writing assignment for your business, then you've got to make sure that you really do know, and or hire somebody that does know. So the bottom line is the whole thing works if you have really good content. Those two examples I showed you earlier of highly successful blogs is all based on one thing: high quality content. So what's in it for the reader? So here's a small family, with a cat and a dog and a house and a garden, and they've got all these issues. And so whatever business you're in, what you're writing for is to help them. You just visualize that family there. They've got this cat, and I'm going to write about, caring for a cat, feeding a cat, spaying a cat, whatever I'm going to do. And, it's got to resonate with that family. Okay, opinion leader. So an opinion leader is somebody that other people look up to. And you can become an opinion leader, as in those examples I cited earlier, by the quality of your content, how often you write it, and also this last bullet point, being persistent, very, very important. You start off, you've got your mother and your uncle are the only two people following your blog. You just keep going. As long as you're providing good content, it will start to grow, and it will start to grow, and it will start to grow. And we'll cover how you're going to promote your blog later. Informal. Blogs should be informal. It's not, a web page is a little bit more formal, and it's, basically got sales information, what is the product or service, how do I buy it, and so on. Whereas a blog is informal. It's just like these two guys sitting there talking to each other. And it's important that you do write in this informal style, so that it isn't really stuffy, and it communicates. So here's some headlines from another blog called Authority Blogger. And you've got one shot when people, have the attention span of a gnat, and you got to be really fast. So you've got to get your message there in a heartbeat. Get what you want in health, wellness, whatever. Problems and fears. Get rid of your debts once and for all. Best and worst. 10 worst mistakes made by bloggers. Great headlines that will, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm going to read this. So stay on message. I've noticed over the years some people start to vary off their message. Oh, I wanted to talk about my vacation, or I wanted to whatever. And if you think it's going to be of interest to your target audience, okay, but it really doesn't, you've got to take the time to write it, optimize it, find pictures, do all that stuff. Unless it forwards your business purpose, don't do it. Be unique. So almost everything that anybody does, unless you're a research scientist, somebody else has already done or talked about or whatever, but you're not trying to communicate to the whole world. You're trying to communicate to your specific audience, which is narrowly focused, and by making your content unique, like the example of Anna White, an Alaska housewife, builds furniture. So when you're writing, you basically, unfortunately, the reading level of most people in Canada and America is not that high. You know, I've seen studies where it's like grade 6, grade 7. So if you're a lawyer writing a blog, you can't write like you're writing a brief to the Supreme Court. It's not going to work. Keep your terminology, your use of special language, special terms. If you're going to use them, then define them. Otherwise, people, don't understand. They're not going to stick around. Keeping it upbeat. There's lots of things we can be critical of in our current society, and there are certain blogs, and that's what they do. Political blogs in America, for example, are depressing. So for your blog, for your small business, keeping it upbeat will be a good strategy for you. All right. So data. Providing good data is another good area for blogging. So 10 secrets to grow a small business. The humor hook. You can use humor, keeps it informal if you want. If it fits for what you're writing about, go ahead. There's pretty well funny examples in almost any business or profession. And because you're writing informally, you can include those. How-to information is the best in terms of it's the most popular. And, lots of people have made lots of money, and that's all they do is they sell how-to information. How to do this and how to do that and how to make money and how to be on the stock exchange and blah, 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 all those things. You can take information from another source. You can't use the whole article without their permission, but you can take excerpts, and those excerpts can appear in your blog. So if you're trying to make a point, you could find some other source. I've given you a couple examples here, and include that. You have to put it in quotations and acknowledge the source. According to the Huffington Post, quote, blah, 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 unquote. All right, here's some top news sites. You can just simply, whatever, in the search engines, there's separate sections for news. So you can go to news or subscribe to these sites or just do a general search, news about whatever. All right, so here's some additional tips for you. In the search engines, Google completely dominates Yahoo and Bing. So whatever rules Google has, will pretty much apply to Yahoo and Bing. And one of the things they look at is, if you have updated content on your website, they're going to come and index or re-index your site more often. So a blog is not objective, which means you can say, it's your opinion. And obviously you don't want to put falsehoods in there, but the point is you want to stay away from what larger companies do, and they fall into this trap all the time. And their corporate communications department, anything you say or write or do has to be cleared by them. And it sounds like a generated the whole thing, not a person. So when you're writing a blog post, you can tell your story. Examples of, if you have clients, you have a business, and you any past experiences you had. You don't necessarily need to name the clients, but you can give experiences. You can make it much more personal. You can, when you're creating your blog, or you can link to other blogs or other web pages, and that also is good. And of course, you can use your blog content in your newsletters and in social media. So unique content is what's going to make your content stand out from somebody else's. And, you know, it can be a same subject that somebody else is writing about, but you have kind of a unique viewpoint. You have a unique experience. You have a unique education. You know, put that there. You know, add your flavor to it. So this is a quote from Google. And what do they look at as high quality site? And you know, their answer is really simple. Our site quality algorithms, that's the mathematical formulas they use to deliver search results, are aimed at helping people find high quality sites by reducing the rankings of low quality content. So there will be sites written by people in, you know, foreign countries that have very poor English, and they just pump out all kinds of garbage. And so Google has figured out, I don't know how they did this, what is something that's high quality. One of the ways they do it is they give higher credibility to a longer blog post. So if your blog post is 2,000 words, which is quite a bit of writing, you're probably going to get a higher ranking from Google than something that's 200 words. So when you're formatting your blog, use short sentences, make it really easy. Remember, people are reading this on a computer or on a smartphone. Break up your content using subheadlines, use bullet points, make it really easy to read. Now, if you're not going to update your blog, you're kind of like wasting your time. So if you've got lots of content and you can write every day, fantastic. But at least try to blog something, you know, weekly or every 2 weeks. And it also feeds the rest of your marketing. You've got something for email, you've got something for social media, and you've got the synergy going. So blog length, people have asked me about this a lot, and I try to use a rule of not less than 500 words. You can, you know, some studies have been done. Longer blog posts tend to do better. Longer meaning like in the 2,000 range. So if you're going to write a 500-word blog, maybe you could, you know, don't stop at 500 words if you're on a roll and it ends up being 800 words. So, you know, if you keep it, if your writing is simple and it's easy to follow, lots of spaces, lots of, you know, it's just like the way things are formatted will determine how much people will read. Like if they're reading a book that they bought on, you know, at a bookstore or it's an ebook, that's usually a little bit different. People are used to reading books and they're just all words on a page and long paragraphs and long sentences and so on. But for your blog, for your web pages, you know, you want to follow these rules. And at the end of your blog, if you're trying to get some engagement, you can say, you know, any ideas that you have, you know, let me know in the comments below. You're really encouraging engagement. You can also add something like, we allow people to republish our blog as long as they give us full credit. So that way your blog can get picked up by somebody else. Always include one or more pictures or video because it's, you know, just words on the page is pretty boring visually. Also make sure that just, you know, the basics, you know, is it understandable? You know, there's, you know, no typos. You've used good grammar, and you're consistent in your style. So here's an example of CareerCast, which is a recruitment firm, and they wrote a blog post called "The Most Dangerous Jobs of 2016." So it's of interest and it draws people to them. And I did a search on the 10 most dangerous jobs, and they actually showed up on page 1 out of 30 million competing pages. and they're this, tiny little recruitment agency. So even if you're small, you still can show up if you're really narrowly focused and you pick something that you have a potential of showing up. So optimization, so this starts to get a little bit technical, and if you end up with any questions or need any help with this, then that's what we do. We'd be glad to help you. So quality, I've mentioned it before, and I just repeat it, is the #1 thing you want to be doing. Okay, when you get keywords, you don't want to, write a sentence with 5 keywords repeated. It just does not make sense to the end user, and Google will penalize you. So here's an exact quote. Keyword density, i.e. the number of times you use a keyword, is not really a factor. Yes, keywords should be present, but density is not important. Include the keyword, but make writing sound natural. Very, very important concept. Okay, so when you're optimizing a blog, there's 5 different parts that are optimized. The first 2 are in code, and the next 3 are in the blog itself. So we refer to these as tags or information, and these tags are the parts that appears in the code. So we're writing for Google and the search engines. So this is a blog post. So this is information that is visible to the human when they look at a page. So the top line, hospitality and tourism, that's the headline. This is a subheadline, and then you have body text. Those are the 3 things that show up, and also the picture. You can optimize pictures as well. All right, so the title tag, that's in code, and that is, think of title tags as like you're naming a child. It's got to be never duplicated. It's always unique content, and they're quite short, 55 characters. So here's a search. Now the title tag does show up in search. This is a search results page, and the search I did was Custom Home Builders Chicago. So this is the title tag, this line in blue along there. And notice where the keyword showed up. So there's 4 examples there, and the keyword shows up. So next is what we call the description tag, and this now is like a sales message, which is 130 to 150 characters. And basically what you're trying to do is to convince them they found you on search. Now you want them to click through to your website. So in the same example, our Custom Home Builders in Chicago, below the title tag is the description tag. Chicago's leading home construction, blah, blah, blah. That's a description tag. So it describes what you do, and you want to make it as compelling as possible. Wow, I got to click through to this site. These guys look amazing. Now notice there's 4 search results that show up, and I'm glancing at these. I'm going to just glance, and I'm going to pick one. It may not be #1, maybe #3, may be more compelling. And so I'm going to make that decision right there. Just because you showed up #1, you've done everything under the stars to get to #1. And if you've got lousy description tag, we're the best, we do this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas somebody else could, I might go to a lower number. So your description tag is really important. Purpose is get them to click through to my website. Okay, headlines, also really important. I showed you some examples earlier of some good headlines. And so a couple little rules. Whatever your keyword is, try to make that at the beginning of your headline. And don't make your headline longer than 65 characters. Google will just chop it off in their search result. Then you get into the content itself, use the main keyword in the first paragraph, and you can use the keyword a few more times and use the synonyms, similar keywords in the body. Don't just keep repeating your main keyword. You also want to put links in your blog post. So don't use click here. You want to have the link be the actual subject, the actual keyword. For example, top stock picks, that's our link for savvy investors. Okay, blogger relations. So blogger relations basically is getting your blog seen by other people, and hopefully other people will pass it on. And again, it's very informal, almost like this meeting here. In fact, if you go to some conference or whatever, you're going to meet people and say, hey, let's work together on our blog, something like that. So one of the things we're interested in is what we call backlinks. And the more quality backlinks you have, then the better your search results are going to be. And a backlink is just literally your content or some mention of you appears on the trusted site and links back to you. So for example, if you did a quote out of the New York Times and put it in one of your blog posts, you have given a link to the New York Times. So what you want is the reverse. You want to get your content published somewhere. Now, a really good example is I have a client that's a public relations firm, and one of their specialty areas, I coached them on how to get an article published with them. So they contacted them and they agreed, and my client was writing regular blog posts. And the other day I got an email from her and saying, I got this fantastic lead from my article. She was so happy. And so this takes some work. This backlinks area does take some work. And the content that you create, you can't put on your own website, at least not in the beginning. You might be able to after a year or so. But basically, it's unique content. Just think of it like your blog has now got a second blog somewhere else. It's fresh content over there. It's got to be really high quality content. It's got to be written specifically for that particular publication. Go read all the blogs and articles and everything you can about that publication. And then once you commit to writing, maybe it's once a month or whatever, then you continue. So what I was talking about was guest blogging. In this particular example, we have a website called Amazing Vancouver Island, and we accept guest blogs from other people. And this is a blog from someone else, and it's published on our site and links back to their site. So you're also interested in getting comments, people commenting on your blogs, and also you can go out and comment on other people's blogs, and you start getting this relationship going where you're active as a blogger. Okay, promoting your blog. So the biggest promotion, of course, is on your website. Make sure it stands out as part of your main navigation. You can upload your content to your social media, and you can use your blogs in email. What you do in email is you do an excerpt of the blog post with a link, and it drives them back to your website where your blog is. There's another thing called blog directories. And so you just basically do a search. Let's say you're a mortgage broker, just search for blog directories for mortgage brokers, and up pop some sites. Some of them you have to pay for, so you have to decide, am I going to pay for this or not? And then you just repeat the process. And you don't necessarily need to sign up for 50 blog posts or 50 directories in a week, you know, if you did one a week and there's 50, then that would be excellent. Okay, keeping track of some stats so you know what's going on here. So some stats you could track are, you know, how, you know, your blog articles rank, bloggers that you've been engaged with, and inbound links to your website, to your blog. You can also set up Google Alerts, which will, you can put in your business name, individuals in your company, and Google will, every time that something shows up in Google, they will tell you about it. You can also track your competitors. So Google does notice. So the more blogging you do, Google will index your page. But what that means in layman's language is if you blog, Google will recognize you and hopefully give you better search results. And with your blogging, you can develop more inbound links, which are really critical. And you're going to get more visitors. And from visitors, you're going to get leads, and leads, you know, eventually become sales. So if you blog, you're going to get more leads than somebody who doesn't blog. And which tools acquire customers? Blogging is right up there with Facebook and the other ones. All right, so bottom line to it, social media and blogging is part of social media. Givers get. So you give in terms of providing a high quality blog, and in return, you're going to eventually get sales and be more successful. So here's your takeaways from today. Do your homework, have a plan, always keep in mind your end user when you're writing. You know, spend time creating good content. This is not a quantity activity, it's a quality activity. And you want to write on a regular basis. And of course, you want to optimize and, you know, embed your keywords and so on. Then promote your blog on your social sites and email and so on. And with that, I wish you every success with your blogging. And if you would like a complimentary consultation, then we would be pleased to do that for you. So just drop us a line and we'll get that going. So I'm going to check and see now if we do have any questions today. So don't see any questions, so we're going to wrap it up. Okay, thank you very much for attending and look forward to our next webinar. Bye for now.